They may not see the story yet, but when they see themselves in the story, they become the story. You got to make sure you're inclusive. Name names on the team. Where you see them fitting, they're going to be some buy-in to that, and it's going to blow your mind what your team will do and what they'll create.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Visionary Leader Podcast with Jim Robinson, and I'm your co-host, Lori Prust. Jim, it's good to see you.
Hey, we got some cool stuff to talk about, man. We're talking vision. Translate that into story, content. How do you deliver that? Let's talk about that stuff today.
Let's do it. So I think many people struggle to share a vision. And I'm very curious, Jim, what you've seen and all the work that you've done. People have done it well and people that have struggled. Do you have any stories or what you've seen?
Yeah, for me is adding clarity as to who is a true visionary, right? They show up all the time. They just walk in, they're going to tell you a great story. Those are vision. They're seeing beyond the moment. We say for ourselves even, we see ourselves in the future. So we literally are painting visions in our minds all the time of what our potential is. And we see ourselves performing in our potential in real time. Oddly enough, we judge others in what they're actually doing in real time, not what their vision is. So visionaries really are the ones that are outspoken. They generally have a story every time they start having a conversation. It's usually based on what's the future? Where did I come from? And then how did I use that piece to actually build on what the future looks like? So they're always storytelling.
What do you think the struggle is? The biggest struggle to... I was thinking about this as we're prepping for the podcast about visioning, like you have a vision, but then telling a story. Not everybody's a storyteller. Is that the struggle to cast a vision, or where do you see the biggest struggles?
For me, that's not a struggle. It's what I've always been able to do. It's like I can see, okay, we got to go here, and you really have to include why. There has to be a why in the vision. If you go biblically, without vision, man will perish. It says right there. And if you just, even if you're not the Jesus guy, if you just read that piece, it's literally, and it doesn't mean you're going to go die and fall off the edge of the earth. It means that your motivation's going to die, that you're not going to achieve where you're supposed to. So you have to have a vision. Somebody's got to be able to explain that. Visionaries usually have the storytelling ability. And if they practice at that, they get better and better at it. Think of what did you learn, say, in kindergarten, first grade? Mm-hmm. You learned a story first before you learn like all the rules. The rules are goofy. Like some people like a bunch of rules, but the reality is you didn't remember all the rules. Here's your box of crayons, stay inside the line. But there was a story about why are we going to color today? And they told you a nice story, and that's the part you always remember. So the visionary has to be able to tell the story. They got to paint, where are we going? Why are we going there? Who are we going to impact on this journey? Who is that? And then how or what role are you going to play? How are you going to be part of this vision or this story? Which chapter are you going to fill in? What does that look like? So you do have to be able to tell stories. You have to translate the vision into a story.
Right. What's a vision that's compelling to people? So you talked about, having the why, but what else should it have that people would say, oh, I want to follow
that? Where do they fit?
Ooh, I like that a lot.
Where do they fit?
Is that kind of what you're saying? Is like, can you see yourself in this vision?
You gotta include them in the vision. So as a leader, when you're sitting in the room, as an example, you start saying, here's the challenge. For us, it's, we regularly use Sally's Burger. So Sally's Burger is experiencing this problem, and we are good enough. We can take on 14 states for Sally's Burger because we can solve problem X. Now they're hearing the story. And because you have excellence at, fill in the blank, you have excellence at AI, we're going to use you, Johnny, because you're just amazing at this, and here's what you're going to do, and wow, and then Sally's going to jump in on this, and we're going to be able to solve these problems. Now we painted this story, we painted this, we gave a really clear vision of what it looks like. And we were inclusive with the team members and how their excellence is going to become part of that story. So now we're painting something in the future and being inclusive of the team. They start living that vision. Like they go home thinking, oh man, I got this thing I'm called to. I feel like I'm part of it. It becomes a much bigger thing.
Mm. Um, so I think sometimes people think about goals and measures and data as part of a vision. So how do you move past that? So I don't know if you've ever seen that where people align a vision to just the goals that they have and the measures that they track versus a vision. How do we get away from just data metrics? They're very important, but is that a vision? Have you seen people fall into that?
Yeah. So for us, vision is long term. It's beyond. We can call it pie in the sky. It's futuristic. It's Back to the Future. If you remember the '80s, you may not, but Back to the Future it was super futuristic. That's the vision. That's beyond the moment. That's literally how are we going to solve the problem in the future? Wow, I see it. Being a CEO, I've had a vision at 12. I knew where my future was. I had no idea how to get there. We didn't know how to fill in the how yet. I didn't know what that actually meant, but I had that vision. And so being able to see into the future, that's the vision. That's a different thing versus a goal. A goal is set in increments. It could be the goal for the week, the month, the year, the 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15 year. Boom, you're setting other goals to get to the bigger picture of the vision. The vision is I want to serve the world, right? My vision is that I want to be 50 states with a global reach. We're already working globally. We have people in the Philippines now working with us. We have people in India now working with us as of those last few weeks. And so my vision of having a 50 state touch point with a global reach, we're having the global reach. That's a vision that I wrote out 40 some odd years ago. And we're seeing that starting to mature. But there was goals along the way for the next step. And you had to be inclusive of the teams that you have at the moment. How is Johnny, Mary, and so on? How are they going to fill in that space? And then you have action items to get to your goal. Your action items shouldn't be confused with goals. Action items should be clearly written like 1, 2, or 3 per day with an overall objective of achieving a goal potentially by Friday. So you really got to get clear. Action items, goals, and then vision is pie in the sky. It's beyond the moment.
So interesting because I think just in my work in corporate, we talk a lot about the data, the like right where you are. We might look a little bit ahead, and it's not always often that we're talking about the vision, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think you have to keep it alive to say, why do these measures even matter? Do we know what they're telling us along the way? Is it what indicators is it giving us, that we're getting to our vision or not? So
Yeah.
I think sometimes you can lose sight of it. That said, how do you keep it alive? How have you done that? So you had it 40 years ago. What did keeping it alive look like all these years?
Yeah. Well, you have to repeat your vision. You have to tell that story frequently. You have to talk about it in the large corporate world where you're living at. That whoever that visionary is for that company, they need to have those quarterly meetings, whether they're televised or people are brought in, but that needs to be disseminated on a regular basis. Otherwise, it loses track. The employees, the team, they lose sight of beyond paychecks on Friday. And we say that's bribery day because it's money that'll be spent by tomorrow morning. We just call that bribes. Money is a bribe because what happens is the next company will call you and say, okay, I'll give you another 10 grand a year. They're bribing you to jump ship to go to the next company. That's just bribery. Everybody buys into bribery unless there's a bigger thing painted. You got to have a bigger vision because money becomes literally only bribe unless it be beyond the moment.
Yeah.
Friday at 5 to get the bribe has a limited shelf life. And the earlier in career you get, that money's gone by Saturday morning. They go grocery shop and pay the rent, go get another bigger
Right.
TV.
Right.
It's gone. So there's no vision for them. But when you be inclusive with your team and say, here's what we see, and Johnny, I can see this happening for you. And then there's buy-in and they're like, yeah, that's where I'm heading. money starts becoming less of a piece of the puzzle and the vision becomes the piece of the puzzle. And when you get laser focused on achievement, wow. And then money will chase you, oddly enough. It isn't today. It takes a little while. We say overnight success is about 25 years. But money starts chasing you, and then it doesn't really matter because you can't easily be bribed anymore. You have a bigger picture of what things are supposed to be. And that's when money chases you instead of you chasing money. Early careers, you probably know this, but you chase money, figuring out how to get it. And then you're like, dude, that's not why I'm here. This isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be doing this.
Right.
And then when you get laser focused on what it is you're called to do, the vision, the beyond, it's literally then money will start to chase you the better you get at doing it.
Right. I've had situations, I think I might have shared this on the podcast, but we have a rubric of where you are in your role, where you can go in your career path. And I've seen such a difference when you sit down with people, like you're saying, and invest in them. And we know where we're going, but here's where you are. Here's some gaps in your skills and abilities, but here's how we're going to get you there. I've seen a couple people recently, a couple engineers that really thrive. Man, they just lit up because it was, I see, it's what you're saying. I see where we're going. I see where I am. It's just kind of black and white. We added the clarity to say, based on a rubric or a framework, you're here.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get here. We need your help badly, to get to our vision and mission. So I've seen it. I've seen this very recently, and it just makes me smile how people light up when they're part of the vision and they're part of
it. It even gets better than just that. It's literally the people that can't see the vision usually go find the front door. And that's a blessing too, because we as leaders, we've been holding them back because we haven't been clear in what the vision and where we're all going as a tribe, as a community. We're going here. And if we haven't been inclusive to them, they will finally detach. And Dave Ramsey does this in a very hillbilly way, but he says the trash takes itself out. He says the trash takes itself out because it's literally trash on the team because we are the problem. We created trash. And now the trash has to go to the front door. We show them the front door, they find the front door. And that's literally, wow, that's cool. But that is also a moment where we have to say, wow, we hired somebody that didn't align.
Right.
And we didn't do a good job explaining. And so they couldn't jump on. They weren't the bandwagoner. They weren't drinking the Kool-Aid. They didn't buy the story.
Right.
They didn't have their own vision aligned with the overall corporate vision.
Right. You said something that I wanted to, I think out a little bit of just community, and that clicked for me in the way of sharing a vision because people come together to make it happen, right? I know
100%.
personally, when I feel community and I feel part of something and you're part of it, and you're part of it, and you're part of it, it is so motivating. And I tied that together. You mentioned community, and I'm like, that's what a vision does, right?
It draws community, but it also creates community. That vision has to do with community. The vision is never solo. So it's not, here's my vision. I can't wait to be standing in that freaking light for this is going to be so cool. I'm going to be the only guy there and this is going to be unbelievable. It never works that way. It's all about community and the community that we're going to ultimately serve. And it takes a community of us that takes the tribe to get there. And then we're going to serve the tribe, the buyer, the, bigger picture, but it's never solo. If it's solo, good luck. There's zero vision behind that. The vision is what am I going to do as me contributing to the community for the bigger picture, but it takes all of the community to get to that ultimate vision.
Yeah, that's so good. That's such a good nugget. And then it plays into what we talked about before about people and their strengths and where they fit and how they fall into alignment. And it just all falls together with vision and how we talked about that in some of our podcasts. It's really awesome. It really is. It just makes me smile of how we each fit into something or something else greater, right?
Yeah. Everything is beyond our moment. Everything. And it's literally because we got better at something because there was a whole bunch of other contributors to get us to that level. My knowledge didn't become from me. My knowledge came from thousands.
Yeah.
And that I have a moral obligation to share that content. and I have a moral obligation to keep achieving until I can't. Otherwise, that's a disservice to all of those people before me that were a contributor to me. That would be a total disservice and a disrespect in my eyes, that I would not keep going and carrying on and being able to disseminate that information. I think it's critical we keep sharing. It is community-based because it took thousands to get us to where we are. It took hundreds before our alarm clock goes off every morning. They made our sheets, they made our mattress, they made the alarm clock, they made the light bulb. There's thousands of people involved in our daily activity. How would we be such a disservice to all of that if we didn't create a bigger community to teach, grow, and achieve greater things?
Wow. For someone that's learning to cast a vision, again, I'm thinking out loud of just how to help them think through, I have a vision. How do they know? What does it look like to somebody who's starting out or newer? Jim, like what would you say? Yep, that's a vision. What
Yeah.
components are part of that?
If they're entrepreneurial, if they started their own business as an example, and they're saying, they got 2 or 3 people, they already had a vision. They just didn't know how to tell it yet.
So good. Yeah.
They already had it. That's really why they already created whatever they're trying to create. Now they need momentum. And that momentum can start to manifest by how they disseminate the content, the story behind it. Here's a problem in the world that I see, and here's how I see this team can solve that problem. And when we get that content to our 3 or 4 people or 40 people, when they start to feel or see that, how we're going to solve a world problem, big stuff. There's a buy-in because they can see themselves in the story. They're like, oh, I fit this piece right here. Wow, that's crazy. That's who I am. And then they start realizing everything that contributed to their power to get them to that moment. But then it becomes this big thing. And we say it's a living organism of its own. It literally starts the big snowball effect that it starts to grow on its own. It starts to really serve at a higher level. And you'll see this. I've seen it. It's how we're in so many states as we are now. There's a vision. People see what role they fill. And then, wow, it gets really empowering. We talk about, I use this thing, I just call it 1, 2, 3 to get the cheese.
What kind of cheese? What kind of
cheese that's the nugget. It's the piece in the trap. It's literally the piece at the end of the road. And I just call 1, 2, 3 to get the cheese. You got to go through steps if you want to get the little nugget at the end. You got to go through this process. And for us, the way I just kind of is what's the vision for the week, for the moment, beyond. Cast that on Monday. There should be a team meeting. It could be Zoom. It could be in person. It could be whatever. It could be on phones. It could be jump on the phone, everybody in. But you got to cast that vision on a weekly basis. You have to keep repeating it. And Ramsey says he's the chief repeating officer because if you don't repeat it, it doesn't grow. It literally won't. Repetition is the mother of skill, as Tony Robbins says. Repetition is the mother of skill. It means you got to keep repeating certain things. And then beyond that is define how. What are the nuggets this week we're going to work on? And then define that into action items. And it could be 1 to 3 action items every single day. There's several leaders today saying in the morning, define your 3 deliverables for the day.
Yeah, I do that.
And you don't shut down until those are done. And that could be done at 2:00 or it could be done at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
But have your 3, decide that. And we say 3 to 5. Make sure you're clear on what they are. And then task is your clock, not clock. So you don't base achievement based on the clock. You base achievement based on tasks. So set your action items. Be crystal clear on what that looks like. Set your 3 to 5 every day. Accomplish them. And your team will start to develop trust in you because they'll see your accomplishments. They will talk to you about wow, how do you do that? That's amazing. Why do you get up at 4:00? They will see that content. And it's not because it's a struggle. It's because it's real and it becomes a service to other people. Be crystal clear in that. But set your action items, be crystal clear. I think Traction, even the book of Traction says, move the rocks. I think they reference, how do you move your rock each day? How do you move it for the week? How do you move it for the month? It means that rock's got to go from A to B to C and so on. We use football as a metaphor. How are you going to get to the end zone? You got to get there by 5:00 on Friday. How are we going to do that? You got to set some steps. You're going over 10 yards to the right, and then we're going to run it in. They're going to stop you, so you got to run back, and you're going to go 10, 15 yards on the next run. Those are action items. And we'll reset the clock every time we create 3 action items. It gets us the first down again. We start tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. again, and we'll keep winning.
Such an important role of the visionary or the leader to help cast that vision. You can just see that in our team meetings or things like, it's just such an important thing for the week even. So when I think vision, sometimes you think this big thing that's just out there and you launch it, and no, you're talking to me right now and anybody listening about these are weekly, they're daily. These are, hey, let's look at the next 3 days and what we've got to do. And then that bundles into the vision that we have.
Yeah.
So critical, not just big, wide, but also taking it down is what I hear you saying.
You do have to chunk it down. You got to cast that vision on Monday for the team. We call them huddles. A lot of people call them stand-ups. Our huddles, we're casting vision for each client. So we go line by line, all of our clients on our roster. Are we aligned? Should we say, get rid of the client? We can't serve them at our level. They don't want what we do. Let's get rid of them. That's really critical that we're casting that vision for the week. And then we decide each day what we're going to accomplish. And then of course we have the 5 to thrive. That's our 5 things we got to do every day. And that could be billing and communication, et cetera. Sure. But then you set the action items to excel. And we say we'll exceed in our mission, we'll exceed client expectations. That means we want to understand them. That means we go out of our way to figure out what the expectations are so we can be better. And we create action items to be better than what they expect. We take the most discerning, the most challenging client, and then we give everybody that same level. And so that's continually changing. You'll get a more demanding, more challenging client. We just say we're just raising the bar, and then everybody benefits from that. Because now we set a new standard because we don't want to have a bunch of different rules for every client. We want to have a set of rules for all clients. And we just take the toughest part of that and we go to that level. And then that's what we give everybody. And then our buyers become a better buyer. And our buyers become so good that our competition can't serve them at the same level. So we really set the bar high, but we use a client's level of expectation. And that's the level we achieve. We do that in action items per week.
So how did the hospitality book fit into that? I'm just thinking of a hard client that you've got to serve them very well as you would. Yeah. Sounds like you're setting a bar of hospitality and care.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Like Will Guidara's book, it's called Unreasonable Hospitality. And he gave us several examples. And he had people come into his restaurant and they would get engaged or a proposal or something would be in the restaurant. And he would go out of his way. He would run down the street, go get flowers, get special champagne. This was all complimentary. There was no fees for any of this. This is unreasonable hospitality because the steakhouse next door didn't do it. And he set the bar so high that literally to be number one in the world as a restaurant, it isn't because you serve a great steak. It's because you serve a great steak and 40 other things that you do was exceptional. It's Olympian level. Olympians are the only ones you remember. Great service is great. And if you're close by, you'll go get it. But Olympian level, you remember them by name because they're on the Wheaties box, they're on the magazine covers, and they create books. So he's Olympian level. And so you strive to be Olympian level, and he's accomplished that unreasonable level of hospitality in all things. His happened to be a restaurant, but it's also how he treated his team. And the team rose to that occasion. We also had the chance to talk or meet with Horst Schulze, so Ritz-Carlton. And he founded Ritz-Carlton through the Marriott brand, but he raised the bar like insanely high. And I just stayed at a Ritz-Carlton 2 weeks ago, up in San Francisco at a conference. And it was exceptional, impeccable service. The bartender had been there 19 years. The facility was a 26-year-old facility. I sat and I chatted with this guy, and he knew everything about it. He was totally content being the best at what he can do and what he does. He's not leaving. 19 years as a bartender. well respected by Horst Schulze and Mr. Marriott. So it was really cool stories to hear. How do we get to that level? It's unreasonable hospitality. Be your best in all things, period.
Need to get that book. I need to read that book.
Yeah.
It sounds really good, Jim.
Yeah, Will Guidara, Unreasonable Hospitality. It's a great book. Everybody should read that book. Go get it.
Mhm. And even at home, like I have not read it, but from what you're saying, how do you do that at home too?
Yeah, and everything. How we do anything is how we do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're really good at something, we just got to deliver.
Yeah.
And if we only deliver to what we want, we're in trouble. That's incredibly self-centric versus other-centric.
Yes.
We need to be other-centric.
So, do you have any practical framework or ways that somebody building a vision any kind of framework somebody could use as they're going to cast a vision?
Yeah. If you're a team leader, you got to cast that vision in your first meeting on Monday. Keep it short and sweet. Do not embellish, because you're not painting the 20-year vision. You're painting the vision for this week. It needs to be 1 or 2 sentences. It can be colorful. It needs to have sight, sound, and smell, touch and feel. It needs to be as crystal clear, but keep that to 1 or 2 sentences. If you can paint that picture and then be inclusive as to how you're going to get there. Mary, I need to count on you. You're excellent at X. You're going to contribute this part, and we're going to solve this problem for Joe, the buyer. Johnny, here's where I see you fitting in. Can I count on you? And that's the short version in a huddle Monday, and then decide the action items by department, and then you guys have killed it. That's critical. Paint the small vision. As you get to be that bigger leader, you start casting that long-term vision. Where's the company truly heading? That's a quarterly thing. That's a bigger event. That becomes more embellished. It gets louder. It has more color, more feel, to where people will start to see themselves. Wow, I can be there. I can be in that room. I can be on that boat. I can be in that car. I can be in that truck. You paint a clear picture and they'll get there. But that's quarterly. That's a bigger picture.
Okay. All right. That was kind of our last question, but it was a great conversation in that we started off with how do we keep a vision alive? And I heard a few really important nuggets. It's yes, there's a long-term vision, but there's also these incremental today over the next week, like short-term reminders of our long-term vision, the things that are going to get us there. We talked about that. So yes, cast the long-term vision. Yes, we have short-term check-ins, team focus areas, things we need to do. And then it's community. It's the people. So if you're casting a vision and you don't see other people, maybe you need to rethink what your vision is. Right?
It may not be a vision, it may be a nightmare.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe something troubling right now, but get crystal clear, but be inclusive. Name names on your team where you see them fitting in. There's some buy-in to that, because they may not see the story yet, but when they see themselves in the story, they become the story. You got to make sure you're inclusive. Name names on the team where you see them fitting. They're going to be some buy-in to that, and it's going to blow your mind what your team will do and what they'll create.
So these are some amazing nuggets to keep that vision alive and tell stories. And I heard you say practice. You may not naturally be. I think you were a natural storyteller. I am not, I don't think. So, but I do know with practice, you can be really good at it. You just have to keep telling stories. You have to keep trying.
You have to work at anything. Repetition's the mother of skill. If you repeat things, we know psychology books from 35 years ago said 21 repetitions creates a new habit. Today, the new books in psychology are saying to break or interrupt habits or patterns is 40 to 60 repetitions.
Wow.
So if we want to get really good at something, read the books, but it'll tell you 20 to 60 repetitions. And that doesn't mean once per month, because that's 2 years away. That means daily. That means tell the story daily, do the active thing daily, and in 21 days, you'll break or interrupt a habit or a pattern, and it'll become a new pattern. So it's literally 21 repetitions creates a new habit. If it's storytelling, your storytelling gets really good in 21 days.
Yeah.
And then incredibly powerful in 40 to 60 days based on today's psychology books.
Sure.
But interrupt the pattern and be consistent. Be consistent and be intentional. Here's what I need to disseminate today. Here's the content I need to deliver. Watch your team, how they respond. Change what you're teaching, how you're telling the story based on how they're responding to what you tell them.
Jim, there were some big nuggets today. And we didn't off-road that much. I'm proud of
We
it.
didn't go too far off beat today. We did good.
Yeah. All right. Any last words, Jim, before we close out?
That's it. Go tell your story, guys. Don't be shy about your vision. And it doesn't matter if you're the leader of the team or if you're a team member. Bring your story to the meeting so everybody starts to buy in and trust will go up. They need to see that you're living your own personal alignment with your own personal vision. You have one. We all do. Some of us are able to disseminate that or get that content out. The rest of us need to be able to find a way, find a voice in those meetings. Don't be shy. Tell the story. Let everybody be a recipient of that because everybody learns from the stories.
I love this. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Till next time.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. That's awesome. Thank you.